Oh, he did. He suckered you in. Peyton Manning was 32-33 when he won it. Montana was 33-34. He sent you exactly down the path that he was expecting.
Well done, Hembo.
You were off by 1 year, Dan Graziano. Well played, and so, Hembo. And that one was fair. Hembo sometimes tries to sneak in these unfair questions. That one I think was reasonable. The judges have ruled that a win for Hembo. It's now 19-15 in favor of Dan on the year. Meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers entering his 17th season in Green Bay. And though he has 3 years remaining on his contract, some believe his time as a Packer could be coming to an end. Among them, it sounds like, his former teammate, Charles Woodson. Listen.
I think it could be one of those situations where it gets nasty at some point in the back and forth between, the Packers and Aaron's agents, and where there's smoke, there's fire. You know what I mean? So this could be a situation where somebody makes a play or makes some kind of offer, for Aaron Rodgers, and Green Bay can't refuse and say, you know what, hey, we'll go our separate ways. We're going with the future of the team.
So it's fascinating, and obviously Charles knows the situation well. But, Tim, you were making the point when we were talking earlier, he's saying this could get to a bad place, and you were making the point, really, it already has.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers, a week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, basically said, look, I threw a wrench in their plans, meaning, hey, they thought I was done. They drafted my replacement. And then I played better than anybody else played quarterback last year. I don't know what else he needs to say to already let us know that it is ugly. He is upset. He is angry. Look, I guess he could get more angry and start flipping over tables, but I think we're already at the point where Aaron Rodgers is upset, is unhappy, and I think that's why I've said on this show, if they don't win a Super Bowl this coming season, I think he'll be more upset and more angry, and I think he'll end up playing somewhere else.
Nick, you and I, we share this love of psychoanalyzing people from a distance that we don't know at all. And so what is your read on that as you hear the teammates, everyone's coming out? What is your read on this situation as we sit and watch him hosting Jeopardy right now?
It sounded like Charles proposed a possibility that there could be a trade at some point, which kind of caught me off guard because the way that I always saw this playing out, and I agree with what Tim was saying, is Aaron's already annoyed, and the result of that annoyance was an MVP caliber season. If that happens again this season, then he has all the leverage and flexibility, having not signed an extension, to potentially force his hand out of town. I think he wants to win. And as long as the Green Bay Packers give him the best chance to win in his mind, I think he stays there. But I could see him certainly moving on to somewhere else. But he's never going to be comfortable with the way that they treated him in drafting Jordan Love. And until the time that he leaves, I imagine he's going to be saying passive-aggressive and sometimes aggressive things in the media about the way that that front office has treated him.
Give us the insight, Dan.
Look, I mean, this is no different from last year, honestly. And he was annoyed that they drafted Jordan Love last year. He made that clear that he didn't like the pick and that it affected his opinion on whether he could finish his career in Green Bay. They still managed to go 13-3 and get to the NFC Championship game. So Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers have proven to us that they can handle this situation. And I don't think it gets ugly unless they start losing. Right now, you have to look at it the way the Packers are looking at it, which is a year-to-year situation. Yes, he did throw a wrench into the plans. You know what else threw a wrench into the plans? A weird season and off-season in which Jordan Love really didn't get to do much in terms of any kind of development. So the Packers probably aren't as far along with him as they thought they'd be at this point. And what happens this year in terms of how they play, how Aaron Rodgers plays, and how Jordan Love comes along as a developmental prospect will determine the direction they take with regard to Aaron Rodgers next offseason.
See, if I'm Aaron Rodgers and I hear you say that, it drives me crazy. Completely crazy. Like, they're
but he already
worried
knows
that Jordan Love didn't get to see what he could do. I'm worried that we kicked a field goal on a 4th down and didn't go to the Super Bowl again, and I haven't been there in 10 years. I understand that the Packers, they have their plan, but if I'm just saying, Nick, give me a final word. If I'm Rodgers, this drives me nuts.
Oh, yeah, it's not fantasy football. And I think that all that logic that you're throwing out there doesn't take into consideration that this is an emotional game and people are emotional and sometimes irrational, and that's reasonable. Considering what Aaron Rodgers has done for that organization and done at that organization, I would be upset too. I'd be annoyed and frustrated too that you went and drafted somebody when I can still contribute the way that I have, and you are making decisions that feel like you're looking at the future when I'm trying to win us a Super Bowl right now.
Go ahead, Dan, real quick.
All good points, but he did handle it, and he deserves credit for that.
Yeah,
they went 13-3 and had a great year.
Beautiful mystery, though.
No reason to think he can't do it again.
We know that, well, he can't do that again. They play 17 games. They won't be 13-3 no matter what happens. Okay, as we continue in a moment. In next week's NFL draft, Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence, I'm not even sure why we're still saying expected. He's going to be the first pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, you probably heard and saw a lot of the conversation and commentary about his recent comments in Sports Illustrated, in which, for lack of a better word, he suggested that there was more in his life than football. Well, over the weekend, he responded to that response, putting out a string of tweets. Here's the crux of what he said. He said, "It seems as if people are misreading my sentiment. I am internally motivated. I love football as much or more than anyone. It is a huge priority in my life, obviously. I am driven to be the best I can be and to maximize my potential and to win." This to me was so interesting, and the sort of variety of response that we got here last week from different people, I found very interesting. Nick, I haven't heard from you. What is your take on what he said and now how he explained it, for lack of a better way of describing his weekend?
I think I'm somewhat of two minds in this, because I do remember the best seasons I had as a player. Like, I was kind of out of my mind focused and also like borderline depressed and not having anything else going on in my life. But I think it's kind of absurd to think that that's the only way you can have success in this league. I think that Trevor Lawrence can ball out because he is doing the things that need to be done. He's preparing maniacally. He's focused. He's getting ready. He pays attention to his body. Like, those are things that you can do without being a crazy person. And my thought is that there probably have been several really talented, exceptional, outstanding, even Hall of Fame level players who weren't like these crazy sociopaths that we like to make them out to be. And they were just smart enough to not say it publicly. I think Trevor Lawrence made the mistake of thinking that sports media and sports fans were reasonable enough to understand that there are more things in life than football, and he can still be a great football player without mortgaging all the things that he cares about just to make sure that he is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yes, nuance is not something that we major in this industry. Tim Hasselbeck, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Dominique on this. Look, I think he's being honest. He's somebody that basically has been anointed since he was, a sophomore in high school as a guy that's going to be a first-round draft pick. And, I think as a 15, 16-year-old, if you build your entire life on only being a first-round draft pick, it's dangerous. And so I think that he's kind of had a balanced life and perspective on things, which has been really healthy for him and helped him get to this point. So I think he's kind of being honest with that. And I think it's also absurd for us to think that, listen, that a guy has to be so singular focused, like it's got to be the most important thing in his life to have success. And this is what Dominique was referring to. Does that mean that you're not, laser focused during the season? No, of course you are. But Brett Favre did a lot of hunting and he did a lot of golfing. He was pretty good. Peyton Manning, did not sit in a cave every single night watching film. Did he prepare? Sure he did. But he had other things going on in his life. Same thing with Tom Brady. Like, are people freaking out when he goes to the Met Gala? Like, no, they're not. And Aaron Rodgers is hosting Jeopardy. So I think, things go on outside of football and you can still be focused on it.
And Dan, I know this whole episode bothered you for entirely different reasons.
I'm so proud to be on a panel where the first two guys used the word absurd to describe this situation, because I feel exactly the same way. Look, as a reporter, we want honest answers from people. And here's a young man who gave one and then had to sort of scramble to explain it, as opposed to just saying, no, I said something legitimate and truthful. And honestly, if you think about it, it really shouldn't be that hard to understand. To Tim's point, the MVP of the league just spent the last 2 weeks hosting Jeopardy. It is April. Trevor Lawrence's teammates are not going to judge him on a quote in Sports Illustrated in the most relaxed time of the NFL season. They're going to judge him on how he acts and leads around them